Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, September 3rd, and this is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at seroundtable.com. A lot to discuss. An unconfirmed Google search ranking algorithm update on September 1st. The Google page experience update stopped rolling out officially yesterday, kinda. I'll get into that a little bit more. The title changes in Google still continue. A lot more to discuss on that. Google Ads announced they're dropping extended text ads for responsive search ads completely in June 2022. A lot more on that as well. Search Console data that we reported was missing last week is completely gone, and so much more. So definitely stay tuned. Of course, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Loud Interactive, Chicago-based SEO firm led by Brett D. Payne. Check them out at loud.us. Thanks again for sponsoring. Okay, let's get a little bit more comfortable. So just if you want, bored, you haven't been following these things for the past month or so, got something in my eye, then definitely take a look at the September Google Webmaster Report. I posted it on, I think, yesterday, Thursday, September 2nd. It pretty much covers all the things that happened in the past month relating to Google stuff. I'm not going to go through it all, but basically the link spam update, safe browsing removes, tiebreaker stuff, title tag changes, and so forth. So definitely take a look at that. A lot to discuss there. As I said in the intro, there was potentially a Google Webmaster or Google search ranking algorithm update that happened sometime around September 1st. I'm not sure exactly. Google did not confirm it, but there was definitely a lot of chatter on September 1st and September 2nd, but mostly around September 1st changes. And also, the tools really spiked a lot on September 1st. It wasn't a massive update like you would see back in the Panda or Penguin days, but it definitely was an update, not the core levels, but it was definitely something that people felt. Now, Google announced yesterday afternoon, after me pestering them over and over and over again, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? That the Google page experience update is finally fully rolled out, kinda. Google said the Google search and Google top stories and all the stuff around Google page experience being baked into the algorithm is fully live as of yesterday. They started rolling it out on June 15th and they finished rolling it out on September 2nd. Now, the Google News app is not fully rolled out, that component of it, which was separate in terms of making sure your page experience is relevant to the Google News app. But that's not fully baked into the Google News app yet. It will be done in a week, they said, but it is otherwise fully rolled out. Again, I don't think this is going to have any major impact on your rankings. I don't think they have any little minor impact on your rankings. It might be really, really small, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. Moving on to titles. We have a lot to discuss around titles. So, of course, SEOs want a way to opt out of the title thing. And I discussed this a little bit last week. I think the approach is not to add a meta tag because by default, every single CMS platform that you use, WordPress, Joomla, Wix, etc., they all will probably just add the meta tag by default, and people who don't know better will create title tags that Google should fix anyway or modify anyway. But I think the solution is really Search Console. It's more for advanced users. Most novice users don't really use Search Console, and because of that, if you could have some type of bulk setting as well as a way to overwrite individuals in Search Console, I think that's the way to go. So Google should give you a report saying these are the titles we changed. This was before, this was after, this was the click-through rate before, this was the click-through rate after, and then either default all to say use the HTML title tag versus, stick with that title tag. Or on an individual basis, you could say, I want this, I don't want that. Obviously, for massive sites, you probably might just toggle on and say, I wanted everything. But I think that's the way to go. Of course, you can feel free to argue with me, but I think that's the way to go with this change. I don't know if Google's going to do it. Right now, I do know Google is actually making changes to make the titles better before they actually make any overrides for us to control them. Also, Google made it clarified, and we've talked about this last week as well, that the title change is not a ranking change. Google's still using your HTML title tags, so don't worry about that. And Google said just because they're changing your titles doesn't mean you should go ahead and change your HTML titles to match the titles that they use. So if Google decides to use their own title, maybe from the content of your page or whatever, don't go ahead and take the title that Google used and replace your HTML title tag with it. You could try it, it might be fun to play with, but Google said don't do that. It doesn't mean because we changed your title, that's the best title you should have. We get it wrong sometimes, and clearly they got it wrong a bunch of times here. So Semrush came out with some initial data about 2,000 to 3,000 URLs, not a huge data set. Also, check out Moz. Dr. Pete actually posted a really nice blog post about this. But this one, Morty, I covered Morty's because it was on Twitter. And Pete wrote his whole big blog post about it. So definitely check out Maz's blog and check out Pete's post on that. But what's interesting is basically he said that HTML title tags usage was dropped by about 77%, and that Google uses, for the ones that they drops, H1s, header tags, about 75% of the time. Very interesting data to see that. Again, it's a small sample set, so definitely take a look at that. The big news on the ad side is that Google Ads announced that in June 2022, so about a year from now, a little less than a year, several months from now, Google will be dropping the ability to create extended text ads completely and replace them completely. Obviously right now, obviously responsive search ads are the default type, which was announced several months ago. But there's going to be no longer the ability to use extended text ads for creating ad campaigns. Most ad experts saw this coming. It wasn't. Obviously, Google's been moving this way. Some history. In 2016, the display network started using responsive ads. In 2018, Google launched responsive ads for search as a beta. In October 2019, it took it out of beta. And then in February of this year, they actually went ahead and made it the default campaign type for things. So instead of being extended text ads, it was now responsive search ads. Now, in June 30, 2022, you'll no longer be able to create or edit expanded text ads. And by default, the only option will be responsive search ads going forward. Google said this is better. Advertisers say, I want more control. There's a lot of commentary I have there, so definitely take a look at that blog post. Google's Ginny Marvin also said that quality score is not changing with this, even though responsive search ads are going to be changing. Quality score is not changing. It's still important. And also, she said that you should also probably focus a little bit more on ad strength than you were before, because ad strength is a very big signal for responsive search ads. And a little bit more detail about that today. I posted that if you want to look more about that. Last week, we reported that Google Search Console lost a bunch of data on August 23rd and August 24th around the performance data around search and discover. That data is completely gone. John Mueller confirmed that. It looks like it's gone forever. I'm sorry. We're not going to even try to backfill it or put fake data in there. It's just gone. So just definitely annotate your own reports. Google annotated them. It's pretty sad to see that, especially with the title tag change that happened. Google has added shipping and return annotations to Google Shopping, both free and paid, and Google Search results. You can see these little annotations in there. So now you can actually see when you look at something in Google Shopping or Google Search, if there are free returns and so forth. It's a nice little feature that you can add to your own products, which may increase, click-through rates as well as people shopping on your own website. John Mueller said it's best to go ahead and make sure you have one rich result generally per page, one structured data, schema, markup per page, because Google doesn't give you a list of what the defined order is for, let's say you have FAQs and product review markup on your page. Google's not going to say, oh, we always use product reviews over FAQs. And you might say, product reviews have a higher click-through rate than FAQs and so forth. You might not want the higher click-through rate. You might want it. So you should tell Google what rich result they want to show by only giving them one option in terms of structured data. That's what John Mueller is saying. Kind of control it for them, focus on one. Google definitely has some type of internal tool to check your site quality. In a Hangout last week, John Mueller basically said, I checked my internal tools and your site is doing fine quality-wise. And obviously Google has some type of internal tools to actually check the quality of a site on some signals. Probably a number of quality signals that Google has. We wish they would release it. This reminds me back in I don't know, when was this? Google had this penalty server. It was like a bookmark that John Mueller kind of showed back in 2015, where he could actually check quickly if a site had a penalty of some site. It was called the Google Penalty Server. So that reminds me of that. I'll share a screenshot of that, but these two tools are different. One is checking quality and one was checking penalties. Google's John Mueller said that he often uses Microsoft Bing Search to debug issues with Google Search. And that was funny because then shortly after, Fabrice Cannell from Bing said we do the same thing. We often use Google to debug our own Bing results. So it's very interesting to see if is Google getting it wrong, is Bing getting it wrong? And if both are getting it wrong, maybe there's an issue with the site as opposed to an issue with the actual search engine. This has caused a little bit of a stir in the SEO community. A version of Chrome on mobile beta has out, so if you want to download it, you can. This beta version, you can actually turn on a feature to say, when you're browsing a website, let's say you're on Dick's Sporting Goods, here's a screenshot of it, it can actually show you search results related to that website. And that's basically kind of going ahead. Let's say you're looking at golf shoes to buy on Dick's Sporting Goods. Google might show in this Chrome browser, you know what, why don't you go ahead and find the best men's golf shoes, not at Dick's Sporting Goods, the site you're on. Let's go to your competitor's site, Golf Digest, and buy it there. Very, very controversial. Google is obviously, this is a beta. I don't know if it'll go live, but a lot of SEOs and marketers are not happy about this. Google is testing expandable search carousel-based snippets. Here's a screenshot or a GIF of that in action. Pretty cute. And Bing actually had this a couple months ago, which we reported about. And then we had a survey on Twitter asking SEOs, do they use Bing Webmaster Tools? And the interesting part is most SEOs said no, they don't, which is kind of shocking. The results were about 50% said no, they do not log into Bing Webmaster Tools. 36% said they do, and 14.3% said they don't even know exists. And this is a poll of about 1,200 SEOs filling this out, which is a nice number in terms of Twitter responses for a poll. Shockingly, that's about 64% of SEOs don't use Bing Webmaster Tools to actually debug their own sites. It has amazing tools. Use it. It's simple, it's free, and it's out there. So anyway, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. My name again is Barry Schwartz. This is the search news we covered over at the Search Engine Roundtable at SEOroundtable.com over the past week. Again, today is Friday, September 3rd. Thanks again to Loud Interactive for sponsoring. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Loud. Everyone have a great weekend. Be safe, healthy. Those celebrating Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, have a happy, healthy, safe, successful New Year. I will be offline Monday night through Wednesday night. So Tuesday and Wednesday I'm offline. I assume I'll have some stuff scheduled for those days. But again, everyone have a great, healthy New Year. Speak to you guys later. Bye-bye.